Hey all, good morning. This week we will be getting started on our research essay, which will be our final paper for this course. Don't want you to be scared by the term research. We've already done a lot of this work already, as your paper is going to be on climate change and perhaps the Green New Deal. Over the past couple of weeks, we've been reading articles both for and against the Green New Deal and thinking about whether or not this is an effective way for us to combat climate change. And I've been really excited to see some of the back and forths between you all on the discussion board. For this paper, you will be using two of the sources that I provided for you, but I also want you to do your own research and find some sources from the library's research databases that will also help support your argument. So in order to do that, we're going to take a look at the Gateway website, which is on the screen in front of you. And we are going to go over to the library tab, which is right here on the top of the screen. And this will bring us to a general search engine. Now, if I type into this search box, it is going to connect me to everything that the library has. So that is physical books as well as digital digital sources like videos or online articles or access to e-text. For our purposes, what we're doing is we are taking a look at the research databases. So you'll see this tab in the left-hand corner that says databases. Go ahead and select that. And I should probably say that what a database is it's almost like a Google. It's like a search engine, but what makes it different from Google is that when you use a public search engine like Google, you're getting everything, right? The information is not necessarily vetted. A lot of it might be advertisements or it might be nonprofit organizations trying to put forward like a particular position. But when you're accessing information from the research databases, it's typically of a higher caliber. Oftentimes, the information you find here is what's called peer reviewed, which means that other scholars in the field have looked at it and have determined that it meets a certain threshold of quality. Now, there are tons of research databases available to you as a student in the community college system, and you will use different sources throughout your career here depending on what it is that you're studying or what your major is. For instance, if you are a health sciences major, there are particular research databases that just contain medical studies, right? So that you can go and you can read medical studies. If you are a literary major or an English major, there are research databases that just deal with literary analysis and would link you to works of critical scholarship that scholars have performed or have done on plays and books and poetry. So just to say that there is a really a wide breadth of material here for you. For our purposes, the best place for us to start is at a research database called In Context. Now, you'll actually see that it's featured here on the right. That's because a lot of courses, first year writing courses, use this source, but you can also find it just by selecting alphabetically, or perhaps if you're trying to look through and see what subject might be useful to me, right, as I'm studying. So let's go ahead and navigate over to In Context. So you see that I selected the I. And there are a couple of them. There's In Context Opposing Views, In Context Science, In Context History, and In Context World History. Um, in context science might be useful for you. We're going to start here, although you may want to poke around in this one as well. So just to bring it up, you'll have to log in, of course, if you have not done so already. And this is what the database looks like when you come to the sort of splash page, and there's just a variety of different topics that you can look through. You can either search a topic from here. So for instance, I can literally type in the Green New Deal and see what comes up. Right, and see there's a variety of information that would be useful to me. You'll also notice that there was a climate change tab on the first page that we can take a look at too. So I'll loop back to that in a moment. But just a couple of things to note about the way that this database is organized. You have academic journals These are usually written at a little bit more of a complex level. So you'll find that these are typically peer reviewed, so the caliber of the information is very high quality. From there, you have something called opinion pieces or viewpoints. These are sort of like the editorials that we've been reading all semester. These are also useful, but the information in them is not considered as scholarly as the information that you would find in the academic journals. For our purposes, both these sources are fine, right? You can use either a viewpoint or you can use an academic journal for support in your research paper. We'll also find some reference material. This just tells us what the Green New Deal is. And interestingly, sometimes you'll find some images or some infographics, videos, audio, and news sources as well, right? So there's just a lot here. One of the things that I want to sort of highlight is taking a look at something like a statistic, right? So here's an image that tells us about, well, how much is the Green New Deal supported by the public? And this is the kind of infographic that you could actually use right in your paper. You can embed this as an image in your paper and discuss it as you know, develop one paragraph around it, discussing it as a kind of support for what it is that you're writing about. All right, so just to loop back to the main page here, go back to say we noticed that there was a global warming climate change, so we can go ahead and select that. And what's interesting about this page is that it'll give you background about climate change sort of more generally. So maybe before you get into discussing the Green New Deal, you want to just explore, well, what is the science of climate change? What have been the predictions over time? What have been different ways that we've considered addressing global warming and climate change? So this would all be a very, very useful as background information, perhaps something that would come in an introduction or maybe even the first body paragraph or two. You'll notice that this page is organized similarly in that we have viewpoints, which are those more editorial kind of pieces, those more opinion-based pieces. We have academic journals, which are those more scientific articles. We have primary resources, which are usually kind of direct policy pieces or perhaps even scientific studies. And then again, we have some infographics and statistics that you might find useful. Um, that you might find useful in your papers. So let's just say, for instance, one of your body paragraphs is making the argument that it's unrealistic, that the Green New Deal is an unrealistic solution to climate change. You might take a look at this graphic, right, that says that 80% of U.S. energy comes from fossil fuels, and use that as a way to justify your claim that, hey, it would be impossible for us to make a complete transition to 100% renewable within the time span that the Green New Deal suggests. Alternatively, you could use the same statistic to make the opposite argument, right? You can also argue that, hey, the Green New Deal is absolutely essential because look, we're at a crisis point that the US is still using up to 80% of its energy from fossil fuels, and therefore we need to take more seriously climate change, and thus the Green New Deal is one important way that we might do that. So, just thinking about how you can use different sources and citations to actually make different arguments depending on how you interpret those citations and how you frame them with a topic sentence and other support in the paragraph. So, to reiterate, your task this week is to select a couple of articles that you are going to use in your paper. And for one of those articles, it can be a viewpoint or an academic journal. You will read it and write a précis and submit the précis for this week's assignment. Looking forward to reading those, as well as looking forward to your final papers.